Welcome to our first Q&A based video. Here we have considered a few of the questions which are asked by our viewers and we are going to answer to those questions. And the first question is,
Hi, my name is Pratik. I'm studying civil engineering in Vijay Vitala Institute of Technology, Bangalore. I have a question for you, sir. How do we consider earthquake loads while designing any structure? Or is it generally necessary to consider earthquake load while designing any small residential building or as such?
thank you Pratik for your question. If we see the Indian map based on Indian standard codes, the India is divided into 5 major regions. So these 5 major regions are called as the seismic zones of India, where the areas belonging to zone 5 will experience maximum number of earthquakes and magnitude will be more. If we consider the regions falling under seismic zone 1 or seismic zone 2, these are the regions which may experience least amount of earthquakes and the magnitude of earthquake will be low in such areas. Some of the major factors that influence earthquake design considerations are location of the structure, that is, for what zone the particular location belongs to, the type of structure, whether the structure is for residential use or for commercial use or for industrial use, size and shape of the structure, whether the structure is symmetrical, unsymmetrical, whether the structure is simple or complex in nature. Lastly, the materials used in construction. If the materials are in lightweight, then it helps in controlling earthquake damages. And structural system, whether the structure is of masonry type or whether the structure is of frame type. So in these images you can see the different shapes of the building and you can compare those which can perform good against earthquake loads and which cannot perform well against earthquake loads. And also you can see the shape of the structure. If the structure is of simple shape, then it will perform well during all earthquakes. But if we have the shape in the form of corners or curves, then that particular type of structure will not perform well during the earthquakes. And also use of separation joints in a complex plan in order to convert it into simple plans will also help in controlling the earthquake damages. If we see the particular images, you can see whenever the earthquake occurs, the ground below the foundation accelerates. So when the ground accelerates, the superstructure will experience inertial force similar to that of a passenger inside the vehicle experiencing inertia when the vehicle accelerates. So whenever you are considering the earthquake loads for the design, we are considering this inertial force and distributing them at each of the floor levels of a structure, and finally we can calculate the total base shear at this structure. So based on this base shear, we are going to design each and every structural element to withstand against possible earthquakes. And also different buildings respond differently for an earthquake based on the height of the building. So if the height of the building is too less, then the force developing, that is the initial force developing on the structure, will be low. On the other hand, if the height of the structure is too much, then the initial force developed on the superstructure will be more. That results in greater chances of earthquake damages. These earthquake loads are also called as lateral loads, as it acts laterally over a structure. In order to understand easily, the whole structure is considered to be a vertically standing cantilever, and these earthquake loads will act laterally over that cantilever. While designing residential building in less earthquake prone area, to make the design more economical, we may not consider the earthquake loads in designing the structure. Here we can make sure that the load factors considered while designing the structure can overcome the seismic damages, and also the ductile detailing considered in reinforcement will also help in overcoming the seismic stresses. Next question is,
Hi, I am Udit, studying in Civil Engineering Department in MS Ramaya Institute of Technology, Bangalore. And I have a question for you. Could you please tell me the difference between column and a pillar? Thank you.
thank you Udit. If we consider generally, the word columns or pillars may be used interchangeably if we take a common point of view. But if we speak technically, these pillars are nothing but a vertically supporting member which may be made up of a single piece of timber, concrete, steel, or by bricks and blocks. A pillar can be constructed for taking load, that is for load bearing, but it can also be built as an ornamental element for aesthetic appearance. Whereas if we see the word column, technically column is nothing but a vertically supporting structural member which is built intended to transfer loads from slabs and beams to foundation. These columns generally constructed by using concrete, steel, or any composites. If I want to say in one line, all pillars may be columns, but all columns are not pillars.